Welcome to Inspired Conversations. My name is Nkandu Belts, and here with me I have George Masempela, who is an author of I Still Call Zambia Home, and he is also a prison officer. Welcome to the show, George.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, nervous. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, so today we will talk a bit about the book itself, but also most importantly about your journey.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your childhood.
I was born in 1971.
Yeah.
And I was born in Ndola, and I grew up in Twapia. We lived in Kansenshi. Then,
yes.
My father bought a house in Twapia.
Yeah.
And I think I still remember the house number 1031.
Yeah.
Yeah, Twapia, New Twapia.
Okay.
And
yes.
so, yeah, I grew up there, and I grew up as a good child, and my father brought us up very well.
Yeah.
And he could manage the family. I was born in a family of, I'm born in a family of 9.
9 kids.
And I'm the third born.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, like, you know, our parents were so powerful, and they could handle pressure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he made sure that every one of us got an education.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is very good. Yandola is my hometown as well. So.
Welcome to the Copper Belt.
The Copper Belt, yes. I know it's a very it's a very beautiful place. So you went to school in Ndola as well.
I went to school at Twapia Primary School.
Yeah.
My elder brother and sister, they even had a time. My father could afford, like, you know, kindi and all that, and they went to school in Ndola, but then in Kansenshi.
Yeah.
But you know, myself, yeah, I went to school at Twapia Primary School.
Okay. And then later on you moved to Lusaka.
Later on, I moved to Lusaka. Then, no, after that, there's just so much. Like, you know, I went to school in Ndola, Twapia.
Yes.
But then in grade 7, I left Twapia because my father retired. Yeah. And then we went to the village. So at the time, Kaunda was saying, like, you know, go back to the land, and that was the concept. And our parents believed in that, and which was good. Yeah. And we went back to the village. So when he retired, he took us all. Yeah. To the village, because you know, back home you believe in trust and responsibility. Yes. And so you can't just leave your children alone. No, you have to go with them. We had to move together and then prove ourselves that we could manage, and then come back. Yeah. Into town, yeah. Yes, yeah. No, a very good childhood. So, and you know, you came to Australia. Can you tell us a bit about your journey to Australia? The journey to come to Australia was, you know, back in Zambia and back home, going overseas was a big thing. And people that went to England, that went to the United States, they were perceived so high. Yeah, it was a... Yeah, and everyone wanted to achieve that. And for me, coming to Australia was a third thing, because you know what? At the end of when I tried to attempt to go to the UK or United States, what they require, the requirements were just too high. Yeah. But Australia gave me an option, because there was a seminar at the Intercontinental Hotel. Yeah. And my brother used to work there, my elder brother Maxwell used to work there. And he invited me to say, okay, come and have a look at this. Maybe you might be interested in this. Yeah. And Madam Kafunda, who, may her soul rest in peace, she was a lawyer. She kept us. So she also told me about the same thing, say, no, my son is in Australia, but if you could just spend some time, a week, to come and listen to this seminar, then maybe you might change your mind. Yeah. Then I went there, and I was so interested about Australia. All I knew about Australia was kangaroos. And you know, we used to watch this There's a movie called Skippy.
Oh, Skippy, yes, yes, yes.
And
Skippy the bush
that's
kangaroo.
all I knew about
Yes.
Australia. And all I knew about Australia was it was a continent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So what was the seminar about?
The seminar was about, promoting the Western, Western Australia colleges and universities, and then it was promoting, international students to come to Australia, and above all, it was promoting the multicultural society that they have here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is very good. So, so you coming in, and what are some of the challenges? Because I know a lot of the people that are watching, there's a lot of students, and Australia and Perth in particular, we're trying to brand it as a place to come and study and a place to come and live, and also looking at the amount of money that international students bring in, it's quite a lot. I think it's one of the biggest income in the country. So what are some of the challenges that you faced for people that would want to come and study and live in Australia?
For starters, I would say parents back home, they send their children overseas to get an education, but they don't tell their children to say, you're going to face culture shock, culture adjustment, and everything will change around you. And you have to learn within time.
Yes.
And all they do is that they've got money, and they send their children, say, okay, go and study in the UK, go and study in the United States, go and study in Australia. But one thing they don't mention is you're going to face this.
Yes.
And this is the big thing. And cultural shock is a big thing, but people don't talk about it.
But how did you adjust to that? How did you overcome that?
I was, first of all, affected by it.
Yes.
And I grew up in it, but I had to snap out of myself to bring myself to say, okay, George, come on, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, because it's a big move when you've lived in Africa all your life, and then trying to adjust to another culture.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Back home, we've got too much restriction. And restriction because of love, but at the end of the day, that restriction has made us who we are today because of the culture, values, and the roots, and our parents reminds us every time to say, okay, no, you can't do that. That's what we knew when we are shaking hands with elders. That's why we bow when we are putting food on the table. That's why we do the things we do. And my change to come here was, back home, I don't think I could introduce my girlfriend to my parents. That would be like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the world is changing right now. Our daughters today can introduce this. So this is my boyfriend. I would be like.
Well, but the thing is, I mean, the challenge about culture, and then also the adjustment, and then imposing our values on our children, that also becomes very hard because Chipo was she's practically born here. Yeah. So when you try to tell her to do the Zambian, and Daniel, and when you try to tell them to do Zambian things, and yet they are here in Australia.
My daughter knows the emergency number.
Yes.
And she will call the police if I smack her bottom. So she tells me.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, I'll smack your bottom, and then she say, and I will call this number. Back home, did we do that?
No.
Did we even know that?
No, Mom will actually smack you for just saying that.
Yeah.
We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Here with me is George Masempela, a prison officer and an author of I Still Call Zambia Home. George, we were talking about parents' expectations when they send their children overseas. What advice should parents, or what basic things should we be able to tell our children before they go?
Before I answer that, I'll tell you something. When back in Zambia, back in Africa,
yes,
because I believe Africa shares a few similar things, and so we are protected, and so our parents don't just let us go. Like here, when you turn 18, you can live with your boyfriend, you can live with your friends and all that, and you can leave your parental or maybe a guardian's home, and then you carry on with your life. Back in Zambia, even as much as you finish your year 12 college, if you cannot present the kind of responsibility that they're looking up to, they cannot let you out of the house. And so you stay with your parents even at age, it doesn't matter what age.
So are African parents babysitting their adult children too much?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So how can that change? How can we influence change in that culture? That can change,
but no, how it changed me and the way I saw it when I came to Australia was that I came to Australia and I found my friends living with their girlfriends, and that was like, wow.
But they're adults.
Of course, yeah. And you know, that never happens back home. That never happened in my time back home. And I was like, wow, you living with a girlfriend?
Yeah.
So and then that was the first thing that struck me big time. And then the other thing that struck me was that, no, I was living alone with my friends, but I had my own room. And then I could get up at any time and open a beer and just carry on my life. But the responsibility of school, yes, came in.
Yes.
Yeah, some people got carried away because of the freedom. There's excessive freedom. In 1 minute, you were a baby, and the other minute, you are an adult, and then you can afford this, you can afford that, and you are free to do this and to do that. Even smoking. I found some girls here, like, in their young age, because they felt free, they started smoking weed. I did weed, yeah. But that's catching up with life, catching up with time. And our parents don't really tell us what to expect when we come overseas. Maybe because they don't travel so much, or maybe because they've got so much money, but maybe because they travel so much and they think what they see on the street is what.
So with the rebellious behavior for the students when they come here, they've been sent here and then they have the freedom and then they decide to, do whatever, smoke, do anything that they would not normally do at home. Where is that coming from?
That's a culture shock. Culture shock. Trying to adjust yourself to that level in a speedy time and trying to assimilate life on that level is very hard. Some people have carried on with the life, some people have changed their names. As soon as they go overseas, they change their names.
Is it because it's hard to pronounce African names?
No, it's because they're looking for a different identity.
Okay.
But I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
What we are, people appreciate, but we don't know that. People are trying to change their identity because they're tired of what they were before. But
is that being an African?
Being an African is so powerful.
Being an African is good. I love being an African. And but when it comes to people changing their identity, I think it goes
it's so back you look at yourself, I fit the stereotype.
Yeah.
And stereotype comes with a lot of things. And so people that have been born in Africa and they've tested Africa, they will tell you, and you know, when you look at them, some people have got anger, but they keep it.
Where's the anger coming from?
The anger comes from the whole thing that brought Africa to where it is today. Africa is a rich continent.
And it's rising. The opportunity
it's
are rising.
Rising, yeah. But the bitterness comes from the generational past history.
But we never faced that. It's our ancestors that faced that.
But it is passed on.
Yeah.
It is passed on, I know. But for some of the people, they're still feeling it today.
Yeah.
Look at Congo. Look at Burundi. Look at Sierra Leone. Look at Zambia today. Zambia is a good country. And today, Zambia can be destroyed in a minute because we are landlocked and we are surrounded by people that are testing this kind of bitterness. Look at Zimbabwe. And so it is the political thing that is destroying Africa. It is the Western thing, influence, that is destroying Africa. Africa can survive on its own. Yeah.
Wow, that's very powerful. That's there's a lot that can be discussed in there as well. But I think that there's also a lot of potential for young Africans, you know, to actually do many great things and to go back and embody what, you know, our African ancestors went through, because there's quite a lot of good that's happening, and that has happened in the past. So now let's go to the work that you do. You're in the justice system. What are some of the biggest challenges that young people face, you know, that you have witnessed, especially those coming from African backgrounds?
I'm a prison officer.
Yes.
And before I became a prison officer, I used to work for AIMS Corporation. That is a department, a company that was contracted by the government to transport prisoners and to do adult custodial duties and all that.
Yeah.
And so I worked for that department. I used to work at the Supreme Court here.
Yes.
And the old magistrate court, the old building.
Yeah.
And so what I've witnessed is that, now, first of all, what struck me big time was, and for me, I thought it was a good job because it had security for work. And but when I saw, at one point, one day, I saw a fellow Zambian walk in, someone that I used to drink with. And he walked into the Sally Port. This is the most secure place. And then we expect criminals to come through that. But this time,
the criminal was familiar.
The criminal was familiar, and so my friend.
Wow.
And I was so hit by that. Yeah.
So for him to, you know, he was your friend, and then he is now entering a facility that is, you know, reserved for criminals.
Yeah.
What impact did that have on you?
Great impact. I asked my boss to leave the place because I couldn't handle that.
We'll take a short break and we'll be back. Welcome back. Here with me is George Masempela, who is a prison officer and author of I Still Call Zambia Home. Welcome back, George.
Thank you.
Before we went on break, we talked about, you know, you seeing your friend, you know, in a prison system, and it actually hit you that your friend has now become a criminal, and he is in one of the most secure, you know, places. And what sort of help is available to prevent such things from happening?
I think the help that we need for young people coming overseas is, first of all, let's get the education that, this culture change, culture adjustment. If we can learn about culture change, culture adjustment, and how to assimilate life in a foreign land, we could do better, because we come from home and our parents spend so much money to send us here. And but what we are not told is how much culture shock and culture change we're going to face. How to assimilate life in a foreign land is a different ball game altogether. And if we could have people read my book, I Still Call Zambia Home, doesn't mean that, this, when you read the title, it doesn't mean like, this is all about Zambian. You can change the title to what you feel like. I Still Call Zambia Home, I gave it the title because I thought like, there's a part of me that is still Zambian, and there's part of me that is Australian. And that transition is what we have to understand.
So with the book, what inspired you to write this book?
What inspired me to write this book was the first time I saw my fellow friend walk into the justice system on the other side. And I was struck so much. Today, I'm still a friend of that person, but since after he served the jail time, he went back to Zambia. I met him in Zambia, and I spoke to him, and I listened to him, and I didn't judge him. And we met at the pub, and then he told me everything that happened. So, coming from Africa into a foreign land, like, in the first world country, first of all, you have to know that, you are profiled by your skin. I'm sorry to say that.
No, that's perfectly fine. So let's touch a bit about the profiling. So being black, there's a sense of, what would I say, people feel discriminated at because of the skin color.
I mean, I didn't want to touch this part, but maybe there's racism everywhere. And racism starts with this.
The skin color.
Yeah. And so, when you walk into these first world countries, you're profiled from the airport. You're profiled everywhere you go. They say, grow a thick skin. I mean, my skin is so thick right now.
Yeah. So how do we change this?
We cannot change it. They can only change it.
It's very true. So let's go back to your book. So in a nutshell, what is the book about?
This book is telling you about wherever you go, don't you change yourself to anything that you're not.
That's a very powerful message.
What you are is what they admire. And because they cannot be what you are, they will try and change you to what they want you to be.
And that has been happening, especially for the African countries, a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
it's happening now.
It is happening, and we've been celebrating a couple of independence, and the question, which a lot of people are asking is, are we still free, or are we still living by the values of our colonial masters?
We are not free yet. We are not free yet.
Yeah. So we have a lot of work to change the narrative. With your book, I Still Call Zambia Home, what are some of the key messages that you want people to take away from? So, because it's not only for people of, Zambian heritage or Africa, it's a global concept, what you've mentioned in the book.
I Still Call Zambia Home, I love this book to my heart. And I wrote this book when I was upset, when I was happy, and when I was just normal. And this book is me.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is that be who you are. As soon as you gain your sense of consciousness, be who you are right there.
Yeah.
Because that's what you are. Be you who you are. It doesn't matter where you are and what time, but be who you are. Don't let anyone change you.
Yeah. And on page 110 of your book, you gave an example of an incident at the airport in Sydney.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing that with the people that haven't read your book?
I will share that, yeah. I used to work at the Coral Beach Hotel. I was a kitchen hand then. And my friend called me and said, okay, my wife is coming to Australia. Oh, my wife is in Australia, so can you please help her stabilize and get a job and everything. And because my friend, I value friendship.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So I called my friend's wife, and she had been around for 6 months. She had never contacted me. So the husband initiated that. So I called. Then when I called her, she told me, no, I'm looking for accommodation. I'm like, no, I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment. So yeah,
you can have
and
the
so
other room.
we shared that, the cost and everything. And she was good.
Yeah.
But within not even a year, she bought a car. I had lived in Australia for over four years. I didn't buy a car.
Yeah.
And so she came to me and told me, say, George, I mean, you've been in Australia for over 4 years or 6 years, and you haven't got a car. And look at me today. And I felt so bad. And I felt so like, what do I do with my money? Where's my money going?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was working in a nursing home. And nursing homes pay so good.
Yeah.
The jobs that you can do here that pay good are the jobs that you don't want anyone to know back in Africa, say, okay, you're working in a nursing home, you're cleaning, or you're doing that. But these old jobs, they pay good than a white-collar job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she bought a car, but no, little did I know that, no, she was actually dealing in drugs. And then she was caught in Sydney airport. If you read the book, you understand where I'm coming from. And it's so hurtful to even talk about this because this is a person that was really connected to me.
Yes, yeah. So hopefully she's all right now, and
she's not all right because she's still there.
She's still in prison.
Yeah, 2008, she's still there.
What a waste of life.
Yeah.
What a waste of life. I hope many young people don't get involved and end up in trouble.
Once you've come overseas, what's the point of dealing in drugs? It's quick money, yes. But we've suffered a lot back in Africa or wherever you're coming from. But if it's Africa, then we've suffered a lot. For you to cross oceans, then you've done it. So why should you even tempt yourself to get into such business?
Wonderful, yeah. Well, thank you very much for that. We'll be right back. We'll take a short break. Welcome back. George, in your book, I love it so much because it's you've taken a holistic approach to writing about your life. And you've also shared, some of the challenges that you faced, during when Rebecca was, becoming pregnant, and there was IVF process that she had to go through. And I have a few friends that have gone through, the IVF process, and it's a very, very difficult thing. And from the African background, it's something that's not very much talked about.
Yes, we went through a tough time.
Yes.
And at the time, my wife was waiting for visa, spouse visa. And so we tried 3 times. We tried artificial insemination, and we tried in South Africa, and we tried IVF in South Africa, and we even considered surrogacy.
Yes.
But the stigma that comes with surrogacy is so big. Who do you trust? Who do you pay? And how do the community perceive the woman and the man? And that is still a big thing back home. And so if people are doing surrogacy, yes, but in Africa, I think they'll ask, say, no, we didn't see you pregnant. So where did you get the child? And if you say it's paid, and then it's a test tube thing, then there's just that stigma that comes with it. But at the end of the day, today we've got 2 beautiful children.
Yes.
And I'm a happy man.
Chipo and Daniel.
Yeah.
So with the issue of the stigma, attached to IVF surrogacy from the African community, how can we change that? Because there's quite a lot of people that are suffering silently. Yeah. And as a society or as a community, we need to stop that. We need to stop
Do it. If you have challenges that we suffered, and stop questioning yourself, stop second guessing yourself, do it.
Yeah.
Surrogacy, IVF, anything, whatever makes you happy, do it.
Yeah. And having
Don't
a support
listen
team.
to the outside world.
Yeah.
Just do it. Be happy.
Yeah. I'm glad you did that, and and I know it wasn't a very easy.
And both our children came naturally.
Yeah.
Because IVF, artificial insemination, failed, and my wife was told she's got blocked tubes, but nature has power. Here we are.
Yeah, and it's quite good because you've written about that in the book as well, and with a lot of people that have faced similar challenges or facing similar challenges, I think it's really important for people to be able to read the book, and you've shared your story and Rebecca's story.
This is my life. This is me.
Yes.
And this, I haven't, it's edited properly.
Yeah.
But what I've said is just as raw as it is.
It is very raw.
But,
yeah.
It's edited because I used some language that was not appropriate.
Not
for,
PG,
yeah,
right?
because it can be read by anyone.
Yes. Yeah. And I love the book. I mean, when I first read it, when I first read the manuscript, I laughed, I cried, and some parts I was really shocked. It's a very good read, and you've launched this book here in Australia.
I've launched it in Vegas.
Vegas. Yes, in Kalgoorlie.
Kalgoorlie, yeah. And I've launched in Perth.
Yes, yeah.
And the crowd has been good, and the support has been good.
Yes.
Tremendously good. And I have to thank people in Kalgoorlie, first of all.
Yes.
And I have to thank Elaine.
Yeah.
She works for Kalgoorlie Miner.
Okay.
And she's Kalgoorlie Miner editor. She's supported me so much. And
wonderful.
I thank you.
Yeah.
I thank the Kalgoorlie prison officers.
Yes.
Eastern Goldfield prison officers, they've supported me. Steiger,
yeah.
And a lot of them, Zoe and them,
Yeah, that's really good. It's really good to have a supportive community, to help us succeed. So with the book launch you've done in Kalgoorlie, you've done in Perth as well. So where can people find the book?
And www.stillcallzambiahome.com.
Yes.
That's the best way. And then I'm on, what do you call?
Online bookstores?
Online bookstores, yes. What's this? Amazon?
Amazon, yes. Amazon is a great place.
Yeah.
I like how they're fast delivery.
I'm planning to launch my book again in Zambia. So I'm going to Zambia in March.
Yes.
And so I plan to, that's my home ground. When Manchester United is playing Manchester City or Chelsea or Liverpool, if Manchester United is at home,
yeah,
they're a big team, so I'm going home.
Yes.
And I'll play this game.
Yeah, that's very good because it's important for people to also read it before they come to Australia or go anywhere.
But this is for parents, like you know, to understand. Say, okay, the environment where they're sending their children, and what they're sending them for an education, but they don't tell them what they're going to face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we might have left out?
All I want to say is that I love my family.
Yes.
Rebecca, my wife.
Yeah.
Chipo.
Yeah.
And Daniel.
Yes.
That's my life.
Yeah. Yeah. They are wonderful.
Yeah. And I thank the Goa International Publishing Company,
of course,
for bringing me up, and you introduced me to this.
Yes. Yeah, Emily has done some amazing work around the country. She's a lovely girl. Yeah. Goa International Publishing. Yeah. It's really good. Well, thank you so much for being here.
And thank you. Yeah.
This has been a pleasure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was George Masempela, and we talked about his life and his book, I Still Call Zambia Home. My name is Nkandu Belts, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.